today we have Victorious. Victorious, remind me what chapter you're with?
The
Dallas, I
Dallas
knew
chapter.
you were one of
I
our
see
I
KJ.
I knew you were one of our Texas ladies. So, Victorious, I am handing everything over to you. You can share your screen, you can introduce yourself, you can do all the things. Ladies, as you have questions, just pop them in chat, and I will let Victorious know that we have questions as we go along. Perfect? Okay, the
Sounds
show's
good.
yours, ma'am.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining. It is a pleasure to be here. My name is Victorious Eche. Like Tonya said, I am a project manager, but a little bit about myself. I first and foremost, I'm an accountant, so I do love numbers. I crunch numbers, but after a while, while working in my career, I felt like I need to pivot because I've worked several times with project managers. I got to understand what a project is, working on several finance strategies. I was like, oh, okay, I like this area because as an accountant, you're focused on making sure the numbers align. You're dealing with things that are in the past, and as in finance, you also do deal with things that are forward focused, the forecasting, all the good stuff like that. So I started gradually to pivot into project management. And when I got into project management, I found out that I was already a project manager and I didn't even know it. So I started taking training classes, trying to shadow other project managers. And I found it so interesting that one of the things that stood out to me is how super organized project managers are. And I thought it aligned very well with me being an accountant because you have to be super organized. You have to make sure those entries are in, make sure that you have the correct reconciliation. If not, the financial statements are going to be thrown off, and of course no one wants that happening. So I found that project management is so much alike like being an accountant, maybe except for the financial part. So when I found this out, I wanted to talk more about project management. And I always tell people, so I joined several of the chapters. I'm in the Dallas chapter, the Fort Worth chapter, Austin chapter, getting my hands dirty into project management, wanting to know more and see how things are executed. So in my career journey, I then went on to work at Citibank, where I worked for 6 years, working on different projects, some 10 million, some more than that, some very crucial, some very, very confidential projects that they were carrying out, some for the government, stuff like that. And one of the things that I found is that planning is so important as a project manager. Planning a project is like, planning to have a baby. Some of the projects last uh, a year. You have to plan for it. You have the name for it. You have to get the scope, the charter. What are the initiatives? Who are the stakeholders? Who are the people that you report to? So planning and projects is like having that mindset. But again, when it comes to project managers, we are all project managers. If you can plan a vacation, you're a project manager. If you're a mom, you plan your children's day activities, Sunday time comes, you're able to get dinner ready, lunch ready, breakfast ready, get the kids ready for church. You are a project manager. You're already doing those things. You just need for someone to help you streamline it better by your planning. How do you want the outcome to be? When do you want the outcome to be? Those things. And who are you planning it for? What is the interest of the people that you're planning it for? Those are examples of things that project managers do. And of course, they do it on a large scale. So on this presentation, I'm going to be talking about that and giving us more insights, for example, of things that we're already doing that we can do and improve better. So it starts with your mindset. When you start thinking of a project, something you want to accomplish, no matter how little it is, you already know what you want at the end of things. It reminds me of being an event planner. You know, you always start from the idea. The idea is your mindset. The idea is, what do I know I want this to look like? What are the little pieces that must happen to make it a full picture? And then the idea also is, who can help me achieve this? So PM skills goes beyond the workplace. Um, the reason why we plan is because it helps us to be organized, and planning reduce chaos in both the business and your personal life. One thing that we have to take on is being project managers, not just in the workplace, but at home. Your personal life needs a project manager. You need to make sure that you're completing tasks, not just starting them, because sometimes we do start and we never quite finish. So starting and then completing it. Um, so, and I want this to be an interactive session. So if you do have a question or even a comment or anything, please jump in so we can talk about it. And also, just feel around things that people have done. Maybe they might not have considered it project management, but it is project management. And why those PM skills matter. For me, I had to go in and learn project management skills, although I was an accountant, because project management was a new area for me. I felt like, oh, I could be a project manager, but there were little skills like communication, how to plan, what tools to use, and how to use those tools. Those were like the things that I had to fine tune my skills in. But I already had was wearing the hat of a project manager. So one of the things, some of the things is it boosts productivity. When you have things planned out, sort of like when you declutter your room or your closet, you know how how it feels when you're like, oh, relief, I can see again in this space. So it boosts productivity, it reduces your stress level. It brings clarity and structure. It helps you achieve personal and professional goals. Those goals that you've been putting off, or maybe you don't have the resource for, or the budget for, planning it, putting it on a vision board, putting it on a tool board to help you see the beginning, the middle part of it, the end of it, tying it all together, and just being relentless towards achieving this goal helps you to deliver. These are project management skills that, of course, we all have, but again, in the project management space, when you train for these things, it actually helps you to elongate that skill in so many areas. I can't see everyone because I'm presenting, but Tonya, please feel free to let me know if there are any questions or even any comments. So,
Yep, I've totally got you.
okay. All right, moving on. So another one of those project management core skills is planning, defining goals and steps, prioritizing, focusing on what matters. And of course, we know that in project management, you could have urgent versus important. And as a project manager, prioritizing is a core skill because you need to know, okay, if the fire is going out here, who do I need to attend to? If the fire is not going out here, what is really important? So it always has this matrix of important versus urgent. Another one is being flexible. Sometimes, as a project manager or as you work with people, you'll find that flexibility is everything. Flexibility opens those doors. Flexibility says that you're a team player and you adjust. And of course, there are times when we have to push back and say, no, this is a set time, this is what we have planned. And in those times, we have to be still wear that project management hat with flexibility, but also know that you can push back because things have to be structured. So in applying project management skills to daily life, I always say that we can have mini project plans for days, for even weeks. Like in a day, you might have like the grocery list. You have a goal in mind, maybe a meal that you're trying to cook. You know the ingredients, or you need those ingredients, and you have to source them. So you go to the places where you know those ingredients are available. And if they are not, again, you substitute. And these are things that we do in our daily lives. You substitute, you plan for a meal, you go grocery shopping, or you're decorating a bathroom. You know how you want the bathroom to look. You have a picture in mind. You sauce things, you put the little perfume, whatever it is that you want, bad tissue, colors, different artifacts, different things that you want. We can also apply project management, apply risk management to family scheduling. Um, of course, we know that sometimes things are risky. You might have competing priorities, or hey, this person likes this way, this stakeholder likes that this way, and you have to sort of substitute or find out who is a high risk who has the high risk tolerance versus who has no risk tolerance. And as you go on, you track your progress. I always say, get a checklist. Oh, I've done this. Okay, I cannot do this until I do that. Like different steps have different processes. So tracking your progress helps you to have clarity, helps you to move on to your next step. So that's just one, applying PM skills to our daily life. Leading with purpose. There is nothing like having a purpose for what you're doing, because when you have purpose, you have passion, you have drive, and you're able to see things with clarity. And I know I've talked about clarity a lot, but having clarity is so important. You can hardly do anything this day with a mind that is cluttered. You would make several mistakes and lose money. So having clarity opens you up to other opportunity. Having clarity says, hey, I'm able to do this now that I can think, now that I know why I want to do this. And sometimes we have to search deep down within ourselves in order to pull out what it is that we're trying to achieve. And sometimes seeking purpose and clarity is not so easy, you know, but writing things down, planning it, putting it on paper helps you to really open yourself up and think deeper and get your initiatives going. So, PM skills are leadership skills, of course, because if you can lead something, you can carry out, execute. You are a PM, and then your leadership is how you navigate, how people trust you, how much influence you have on them. Why are you doing things, following through, building that resilience even through adversity, even through difficulties of leading people. So PM skills requires leadership skills, communicating clearly, setting expectation and setting boundaries, being adept. That means being able to be flexible and grow as things change. Change is good, but change can also be painful. Being proactive, not reactive. And then this really resonates with me because sometimes when things happen, we start screaming, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. Oh, I don't want this to happen. Sometimes being that reactive doesn't really show that we've really thought well and ahead of things. And sometimes when things happen, we can be proactive. Think of plan B, plan A, plan C. What will happen if this happens? How would I follow through? What am I going to do as things flow or as things don't flow? So being proactive rather than being so reactive, because being reactive sometimes drains energy. You're just reactive. You're not producing anything in that moment. It's like a meltdown. So, but being proactive opens you up, and because being proactive means you've already thought and planned about situations coming up. And there are in life, there are always situations that come up that is not part of your original plan. So just saying. All right, so at this point, I want to say it's your turn. Think of one daily task you can manage like a project. Examples, we talked about meal preparation, planning a trip, vacation, launching a side hustle, a side business. How would you implement those project management skills that we've talked about?
Victorious, did you see KJ's question?
No, I haven't seen any question. I'll have to get
Um,
out of my sharing mode to see that. Could you
KJ
please
asked,
read
what are
that?
the most common mistakes leaders make when translating strategy into projects, and how can we avoid them?
I think one of the mistakes leaders make when translating strategy into products would be not fully seeing the picture of how the project would go. You know, sometimes we think of an idea, but when it's implemented or when it's carried out, it doesn't fully resonate like the end product doesn't look like the imaginary product that we had at first. And I think one thing that we can do to stop that or to help adjust that is maybe checking in with the project managers, asking them how it's going, and also getting feedback from them. Because when we get feedback, we're able to adjust what our implementation strategies are. It helps us to realign goals as things happen, as things go on. And also having contingency plans, because as we know, being in project management, sometimes the project may go, it's called expensive elaboration. The project may not go as we assumed it would go. So in that case, it might be a thing of resources. It might be that our vendors who we're making this product for are not following through, or like, for example, saying that this is what they want. So getting feedback from the project, because the goals are what feeds the project from strategy point of view, the strategy, the goals, and then the project, which is the implementation of those strategies. Being in leadership, you have to check in with the team, you have to communicate clearly what those goals are, and also making sure that there are enough resources to carry out those projects that have been established or agreed upon. I think
So
one
would
thing
you
that
say,
kills project management is go ahead.
so would you say that the leader may not be effectively communicating the vision or strategy?
Sometimes communication is a very powerful tool, and um, in project management, we have stakeholder interest, and there is a metrics that says who is influential, high or low influential person. And the most influential people are the ones that their opinions matter. And when it comes to strategy, which is from the C suite or the executive level leadership, those things that they want are high priority. So, as much as they want it, when the team who is developing this product or the service, if they're able to capture the essence of what the leadership team is saying, then it's a perfect alignment, and a project is delivered on. There's so many things that could derail a project from going through, even resources of people not showing up, not having enough resources, not planning it well, not having even the right vendors or whoever to source the project, and not having good communication can also derail a project. Like if we're talking of A and someone is talking of C or B, misalignment can happen with those things.
And Ginger responded to your
KJ, did I
think of,
did I answer your question?
yes,
Huh?
she said thank you.
Yes,
And
thanks.
Okay.
Ginger responded to your think of one daily task you can manage like a project. And she said
Mhm.
things like managing social media for my business or also product launches.
I was saying with social media, of course, having the right account manager matters. Scheduling your whatever your posts at certain times when you know there's a high peak area. Just those little algorithm differences, the hashtags, like if you're on LinkedIn, the hashtags that make it pop, or boosting your post. Of course, there's a fee for boosting your post, but those little things, they all matter. Those social medias, yeah.
Hey,
Okay, great.
Tanya, Victoria, this is
So,
KJ. I was just
my
gonna,
call.
I'm sorry, I was just gonna say to Gingers, because that is so critical, right, for all of us, right, who owns businesses, right? And I would say probably most of us do, right, when you think about who we are as Dabo. But that social media is, I don't want to say it's the devil, but it's the devil, right? So when you think about LinkedIn, Facebook, IG, TikTok, right? YouTube, like all of those things. And then you just wanted to say one thing, but you got to create it differently for every platform and then plan it out based on, like Ginger mentioned, you're doing a project launch, right? And Chat
Mhm.
GPT can help you figure out what all you need to say, but it's a matter of doing it and the timing, right, in which you needing to execute all of those tasks. Yeah, I was, when I saw her mention it, I was like, oh yeah, that's a doozy one right there. Like, probably everybody needs a social media manager for that.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. It just, I find that Canva has helped me a lot with social media plannings and presentations. I had to pay for a pro subscription because now I wanted to go even deeper. So I'm like, okay, the normal stuff is not working. Let's go a little deeper. So I have to pay and then start creating. I already have a creative mind, so I start putting things together. And those hashtags do stand out, especially for LinkedIn. And yeah, that has been helpful. But I have to plan it, of course. All right. So that's the end of my presentation. That was rather fast, but I think it gives room for any questions or comments, anything like that.
I have a question. When you're working on projects like, okay, social media or a product launch, how, all right, do you have a calendar that you kind of lean on for those things? Like, how do you approach scheduling out your time? Because on top of being a small business owner, I'm also like totally ADD. So everything, I get sidetracked so easily, it's unbelievable. Um, and I use Google Calendar and I also use Google Tasks, but I find that like lately I'm ignoring Google Tasks. So I'm wondering if you're a fan of do you just keep it all
Mhm.
in one place? You're like, this is my Google Calendar and I kind of live and die by it. If it's not on my calendar, it doesn't exist. Like, are you putting everything in one place or do you have multiple, um, I guess, uh, places to help you keep
Tools.
organized?
Okay, for me, I use Google Calendar. It helps me a lot. But there are times when Google Calendar cannot contain the amount of things in my head. And with that, I'm going to send this to Tanya so she can send to everyone. I have this right here, and I know everyone can't see it, but it starts my day at 4:30 a.m. and it's an increment of 30 minutes, and I write out what it is that I want. And I know it's a piece of paper, but sometimes there are days when I can't put stuff, I don't want to put stuff in my journal or whatever. I'm a writer. Like if I'm coordinating a lot of stuff going on. I have to write it down because when I write, my connection to my hands and my brain is sticks. So I write it down so it's out of my head, it's out of my mind. And then I start going to my calendar. I'm like, okay, in 30 minutes I have this. The next 30 minutes I have that. I have that. So, it helps me to put in stuff together. Um, I know with my creatives, sometimes I can create like 52 different things. And if I want it once a week on a Monday on a certain day, I create the whole year and start posting it, scheduling it. And when I'm done with that, if anything else comes to my mind, I can just in a week, maybe on a random Thursday, I can just post that. But scheduling stuff has helped me the most to stay organized. My Google Calendar is my best friend because I can see how things are. I can, change them, delete them, edit it. It has been so helpful to me. This has been helpful. Like while I was planning my son's graduation party, I was just writing stuff down because I'm like, I don't want this to mess up my professional calendar. So I would write it down, something like this, or a piece of paper that I can track and not lose. Because sometimes I'll lose my papers. So I'm like, oh, or I'll make notes. I'll say, Siri, make a note of this, and it's in my notes.
Do you really start your
KJ,
day
what
at
has helped you the
4:30
most?
a.m.?
Well, I've been known to wake up at that time. If I want to do some stretches, I have a lot on my mind. I will wake up at that time and there's nobody else walking around in the house. I love it because it's pure silence. And you will find me walking around. I'm either saying my Psalm 91 or just whatever it is I'm doing. I'm walking around. I'm like, thinking about my day. Yeah, there have been some 4:30 days.
4:30 just sounds so much earlier to me than 5 o'clock.
That's because it is.
Oh
Um,
my
but
gosh.
what helps me, I have the Google Calendar, but then I also have like the giant dry erase calendar on my wall that's kind of an at a glance. Like these are appointments I have to leave my office for. And then I have like the year calendar beside that has like, again, that's at a glance. But I think I really like the idea of I do keep a to-do list at my desk with me, but it's usually only like the high priority items. And I feel like maybe if I took kind of everything, I get a lot of joy out of checking something off of that paper list. I need it on paper too. And I think that maybe it would help me with like not feeling so overwhelmed by the number of tasks I have to do to just kind of write them all down and just go, okay, whatever doesn't get done today just gets scooched on to the next day. And just keep that list kind of a living, breathing list.
Mhm.
However, I know I'm checking off those high priority items from my Google Calendar because then they're also in my face. And I have a tendency to shut my phone off or leave it in a different room when I'm working. And I try not to look at anything other than the one window that needs my attention at that moment in time. So um, if I have that paper list and maybe I add more to it, I would be more productive with it and less forgetful.
Ginger, something that I do as well is I'm a big color coder. So if I have my brain dump list, I'll sit down and I'll color code like project A, I'll color code blue, project B, I'll color code green. And so then I can look at it, and if I have a time block for project A, I know I just have to look at all of the blue things on my list and focus on those during that time block because I'm super visual as well.
Yeah, and my Google Calendar is color coded, but like my to-do list and stuff is not. That's a good idea.
And I have, because psycho, my color coding in my list matches the color coding on my Google Calendar.
That's a
So
good idea
project
too.
A is blue in my Google Calendar, so I look for the blue on my list.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah, that really does. That really
Yeah.
does.
So in corporate, using like working on different projects, one of the tools that we've used, and it doesn't have to be corporate, but I'm just saying it out there in case anyone else has used it, is monday.com. There are others. There's like Asana, there is Microsoft Projects. So these are like little tool, well, not little, but tools that can help you achieve so much more. um, Another thing in project management is you're not the subject matter expert. As a project manager, you have people who are subject matter expert. And the reason why I'm saying it is, Ginger, I know you seem to be extremely busy. I was going to say some of those things that you're doing, you can outsource them and have someone help you with that, so you don't overwhelm yourself, and that you focus on what you really want to do, maybe spending time with your family or even being part of your business, but not doing like everything, so you don't, it doesn't overwhelm you. um, I know when I was in corporate, I hated the feeling of burnout. So I would get someone to clean the house. I had someone helping me with the kids, and just making sure that I still feel my normal self, and not overwhelmed, because being a project manager, sometimes you can feel burnt out, like with the weight of a project. Imagine someone leaving $10 million in your hands and like, hey, you got to deliver in this. It feels heavy. And that's why you have resources and people you can say, you're going to be a developer for me. I want this is how I want it, this is how it's been communicated. Or someone who does the testing, hey, I want this tested, I want to see a demo of the test. Or someone who makes sure that the risks are low. What are all kinds of risks I can expect to have from this project? So delegation is also powerful, because then you get to see how people are working, and these people want to bring their impact, they want to feel valued. So allowing them to do that work and trust and believe that they will deliver, or that, checking in with them, just like those executives check in with you as the project manager, you also check on your team, because they are working with you and you guys are producing together.
Thank you.
Yep.
Who else? Who else has thoughts or questions?
Sometimes I don't know how I get stuff done, but
Right? That's the magic fairy dust we aren't even aware of that we're using.
yeah. I mean, just thinking about, and we all have, a ton of things on our plate. But when I think about my role as president of NABO DFW, my own business, um, you it can become a lot, which is the reason why I asked the question of even, when you think about the strategic plan that I put into place, I was very fortunate. I was able to get buy-in from my board, and I kind of oversee 14 of them. And we have a lot on our plate. So thinking about that and then just making sure those things get done. And then also too, right, working your business, right? And so it can become a lot. And, one of the things that I've been very fortunate, and I agree with Victoria, is I always write things down. I have to have things written down. So my first calendar is actually just a calendar I get that I buy from Target. Like it's just a basic spiral
Mm-hmm.
calendar. And so that's the first place I go to even schedule anything. So if it's not there, it doesn't happen. And then I move to putting it electronically, because then I do need to see it. If I'm on my computer, it pops up or whatever the case may be. So, sometimes there may not always be that one thing that can help you manage all your projects, right? So sometimes, right, you have to kind of think. Tanya talked about being a visual. I'm a visual. I was a sales instructor in corporate America. So, a lot of times they have huge post notes around my office, right? So, Ginger, when you talked about your calendar and, things like that. So, I mean, because sometimes I got to see 6 months out. You know what I'm saying? So, it's, and another thing that can help you, right? And we've kind of been talking about this is, hiring someone, to outsource various things, right? Because, it can become really a lot easy to get burnout. But I do say, one of the things that keep me moving forward is understanding who I'm doing it for, right? It's, I just feel like I can't let the members down. I can't let potential members down. I can't let clients down, right? So there are times, and I usually teach this, that there's no such thing as work-life balance. I know we want it to be that, but it just doesn't exist. And I just tell people, right, there are times you have to be where you have to be when you have to be there, right? So what does that mean? Sometimes work is calling and you got to put more time in on work. Sometimes, family is calling, right? And you just got to be there. And so there are times, right, you will feel overwhelmed. You will feel out of sorts. But I would hope that, at the same time, you recognize that, okay, so after this big project or whatever, take a mental break or do what needs to be done so that you remain sane. And I think for me, again, the thing that helps me stay grounded or know why I'm doing what I'm doing is at the end of the day, the client is depending on me, right? The members are depending on me, right? It could be my son. I hope he's not needing me too much. He's 40 years old, but he could. Right. So just be kind of being mindful of that. So sometimes, right, it's important for us to recognize to give ourselves grace, right? Some things will probably fall through the cracks, but give yourself grace. Yeah, that's all I
Absolutely.
got.
That was amazing because, yeah, you touched on a lot of good points. Feeling that heaviness of what you have to deliver, outsourcing
Mhm.
stuff, and also giving ourselves grace. There is nothing like it
Mm,
because we're human, we're not robots. And
mm,
even robots fall apart, you know. But just knowing that you can have it all, but not all at once, you know.
yeah.
Putting time to get what really matters. These are very good points, KJ. Thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Okay. No, if there are there any other thoughts or questions? If not, we'll give everyone a few minutes back in their day. And Victorious does have something I am going to send only to those that attended. So I will get that to you in a few days, hopefully with the link to the recording as well.
All right.
So
Thank you.
thank you
Thank
everyone
Victoria,
for
great
you.
joining
job.
us.
Thank you, love.
Thank you.
Bye everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye.